My sister told me to order a salad because I couldn't afford her birthday dinner. She didn't know I owned the restaurant. She whispered to her friends that I was the poor sister. Then the manager walked past her and handed me a key. She thought she was helping me. She had no idea what was about to happen. The look on her face when the staff greeted me as the owner, I'll never forget it. And neither will she. My name is Riley Morgan, and this is my story. I am 26 years old. Chloe is 23. We grew up in a small house in Columbus, Ohio, with a single mom who worked double shifts as a nurse. Money was a language we learned before we learned to read. We knew the difference between a need and a want by the time we were in kindergarten. Chloe always had bigger dreams than me. She wanted the glitter, the glow, the glamour. I just wanted us to be okay. Our mother, Linda Morgan, was a quiet hero. She came home with tired eyes and sore feet, but she never missed a parent-teacher conference. She never forgot a birthday. She made us matching dresses from fabric she bought at a discount store. She sang off-key while making pancakes on Sunday mornings. She was not rich, she was not famous, but she was everything. When I think of Mom, I think of her hands. They were always cracked from washing them so much at the hospital, but when she touched my face, they felt like silk. She used to say, "Riley, you are the strong one. You got that from your father." I never met my father. He left before Chloe was born. Mom never spoke badly of him. She just said, "Some people are meant to stay. Some are meant to teach you how to stand alone." I learned to stand alone very young. After high school, I didn't go to a fancy university. I went to community college for 2 years, then dropped out when Mom got sick. Not cancer, thank God, but a bad back that needed surgery. Years of lifting patients had destroyed her spine. She could barely walk. The medical bills piled up like snow after a storm. I worked 3 jobs. I cleaned hotel rooms in the morning. I folded clothes at a dry cleaner in the afternoon. And I served tables at a diner at night. The diner was called Peggy's Place. It had sticky floors and coffee that was always too hot and pie that was always too sweet. But the regulars were kind. They called me honey and left big tips on holidays. I saved every penny. My hands became raw. My feet swelled to the size of loaves of bread. But I sent money home. Chloe was in her sophomore year at a state school, studying marketing, and she needed books, rent, a new laptop. I never said no. I never said no because I loved her. I still love her. That's what makes this story hurt so much. Chloe was always the golden child. Not because Mom loved her more, but because she had a light around her. People noticed Chloe. Teachers remembered her name. Boys wrote her poems. She laughed loud and often. I was the quiet one in the background, the one who finished her homework early and helped Mom with the dishes. I didn't mind, or I told myself I didn't mind. 3 years ago, Mom passed. A blood clot, sudden, silent. She was only 54. One day she was laughing at a sitcom on the couch. The next day she was gone. I found her. That is a memory I will carry to my grave. She was sitting in her favorite chair, a blanket over her legs, her glasses still on her face. She looked peaceful, but I was not peaceful. I screamed until my throat bled. Chloe flew home for the funeral. She cried on my shoulder. She held my hand. She promised to call more often. Then she flew back to her life in Chicago. Back to her friends and her parties and her internships. I stayed in Columbus. I had nothing else. The house felt empty. The walls felt like they were closing in. I slept in Mom's bed for 3 months because I could still smell her perfume on the pillow. But the grief did something strange to me. It made me angry, not at Mom, at the world, at the way we grind and still end up with empty hands, at the way people like us break our backs and then are forgotten. At the way Chloe could just fly away while I stayed behind to pack up Mom's clothes and sell the house and cry into the boxes of Christmas decorations. So I stopped grinding for other people. I started grinding for myself. I took the tiny inheritance Mom left us. It wasn't much, $15,000. Chloe took her half and bought a used BMW. I watched that purchase on Instagram, a white BMW with red leather seats. Chloe posted a video of herself driving with the top down, singing along to a pop song. She looked so happy. I felt a twist in my stomach, not jealousy, something sadder, disappointment. I took my half and started a business. A food business. A small ghost kitchen out of a rented commercial space on the south side of Columbus. The space was ugly, peeling paint, a sink that leaked, An oven that was older than me, but it was mine. I painted the walls myself. I fixed the sink with a YouTube video and a lot of bad words. I scrubbed every surface until my fingers bled again. I made what I knew best: comfort food. Mac and cheese with 5 cheeses. Fried chicken that took 3 days to brine. Collard greens that simmered for hours with smoked turkey. Cornbread that tasted like Sunday mornings. Sweet potato pie that made people close their eyes when they took the first bite. I named it Morgan's Table, because I wanted everyone to feel like they were sitting at our mom's kitchen table, even if they were eating out of a cardboard box. The first year was hell. I slept on a cot in the back of the kitchen. I got food poisoning twice from my own cooking because I was so tired I forgot to wash my hands. I had a delivery driver steal my entire weekend's earnings. I cried in the walk-in cooler more times than I can count. The cooler became my crying closet. The cold air would numb my face, and I would stand there among the bags of flour and boxes of butter, and I would whisper to myself, "You can do this. Mom believed in you." But I didn't stop. I learned social media. I learned how to make a reel that made people's mouths water. I learned that a good photo of mac and cheese with a perfect cheese pull could get 10,000 views. I learned that consistency beats talent when talent doesn't show up. I posted every single day, even when I was exhausted. Even when no one liked or commented, I posted, and something happened. People started talking. A food blogger in Columbus wrote a piece called "The Best Mac and Cheese You've Never Heard of." Orders tripled, then quadrupled. I hired 2 people, then 5, then 10. By the end of year 2, Morgan's Table had a waiting list for delivery slots. People were setting alarms on their phones to order as soon as our system opened. By the end of year 3, I opened my first brick and mortar restaurant. A small place on the east side of Columbus, 40 seats, warm lighting. A chalkboard menu where I wrote the specials in my own handwriting. Photos of Mom on the wall. A booth in the corner that was reserved for no one, but reminded me of the booth we used to sit in at Peggy's place. I didn't tell Chloe, not because I was hiding it, but because she never asked. Our phone calls became once a month, then once every 2 months. She would talk about her new job at a PR firm in Chicago, her new boyfriend Derek, who worked in finance, her new apartment with floor-to-ceiling windows and a gym on the roof. She would ask, "How's the diner, Riley?" And I would say, "It's fine." And she would move on. I let her believe I was still serving eggs and coffee at Peggy's place. I let her believe I was still the older sister who struggled, because correcting her felt like bragging. And I didn't know how to say, "Actually, I own a restaurant now, and it's doing so well that I'm opening a second location next spring." Those words felt like they belonged to someone else. Someone richer, someone luckier, someone not me, but the truth is I was proud. Quietly. Deeply. Every night after the last customer left, I would stand in the middle of my restaurant and just breathe. The smell of garlic and butter. The sound of the ice machine humming. The sight of Mom's photo smiling down from the wall. I had built this. With my own 2 hands. With blood and tears and 3 jobs and a cot in a kitchen. With grief and anger and stubbornness. I had built a place where people felt full and happy and loved. That meant more to me than any amount of money. And yet, when my phone buzzed 3 weeks ago with a text from Chloe, my heart still did that old familiar flinch. That little squeeze of anxiety. That voice that said, "She's your little sister. You still want her to be proud of you." Chloe's text read, "Riley, I'm coming to Columbus for my birthday, staying at the new boutique hotel downtown. Dinner at that fancy French place on High Street. You're coming, right? It's my 24th and I want my big sis there." I stared at the text for a long time. The fancy French place. Le Chateau, I knew it well. It was 2 blocks from my restaurant. The owner, a man named Jacques, had actually come to eat at Morgan's Table once. He was a small man with a big mustache and an even bigger laugh. He said my fried chicken was better than his coq au vin. We laughed about that. He came back 3 more times. Each time, he brought a different bottle of wine. Each time, we talked about food and family and the pain of running a restaurant. 3 months ago, Jacques made me an offer. He was getting older. His knees hurt. His children lived in France and didn't want to take over. He wanted a partner. Someone who understood the business from the ground up. Someone who loved food the way he did. He offered me 49% of Le Chateau for a price that was surprisingly fair. I took out a loan against my restaurant. I signed the papers last month. Chloe didn't know any of this. Chloe thought I was still the sister who counted tips at the end of a shift to afford gas. I typed back, "Of course I'll be there, just tell me when." She sent the date, next Saturday, 7 p.m., and then she added, "Also, invite your boyfriend if you have one. LOL. I didn't have one. I had a restaurant. That was my relationship, my only relationship. Sometimes I wondered if that was sad. But then I would walk through my kitchen and see my cooks laughing and hear the sizzle of a hot pan and smell the rosemary and thyme, and I would think, this is enough. This is more than enough." The week before her birthday, I worked harder than usual. Not because of Chloe, because we were launching a new menu item, a peach cobbler that Mom used to make. I tested it 17 times until it was perfect. The crust had to be golden but not burned. The peaches had to be soft but not mushy. The sweetness had to be balanced with a pinch of salt and a dash of cinnamon. On the 17th try, I took a bite and started crying. It tasted exactly like Mom's. I put it on the menu that night. But in the back of my mind, there was a tiny knot of anxiety. Not about the cobbler, about seeing my sister, about sitting at a table where I would feel small again, about being the poor sister in a room full of people who had never struggled, about the way Chloe's friends would look at me with that mixture of pity and politeness. I decided to dress nicely. I bought a new dress, not expensive. $70 from a department store, navy blue, simple. It had short sleeves and a modest neckline. It was the kind of dress that didn't scream for attention. I put on the earrings Mom left me, small gold hoops. I put on a little mascara and some lip balm. I looked in the mirror and saw a woman who had survived. I didn't look rich. I didn't look poor. I looked like me. And for the first time in a long time, I thought, that's enough. The night of the dinner, I closed the restaurant early. I told my manager, a wonderful woman named Darnell, to handle the last seating. Darnell had been with me since the ghost kitchen days. She was 58 years old, had raised 4 kids on her own, and knew more about cooking than anyone I had ever met. She looked at me and said, "You go show them who you are, baby. And if anybody messes with you, you call me. I'll come down there with a ladle." I laughed. I hugged her. I walked out the back door into the warm evening air. The walk to Le Chateau was 2 blocks. The air was warm. The streetlights were glowing orange. I could hear music from a bar down the street. A couple walked past me holding hands. A homeless man sat on a corner with a cardboard sign that said, "Anything helps." I gave him $10. He said, "God bless you, miss." I said, "Keep fighting." I felt nervous, stupidly nervous. Like I was still 17 and trying to impress Chloe's friends. Like I was still the girl who wore hand-me-downs and packed her lunch in a paper bag. My palms were sweaty. My heart was beating faster than it should. I took a deep breath. I reminded myself of the truth. I owned a restaurant. I was a business owner. I had employees who depended on me. I had a second location opening in the spring. I had a key to Le Chateau in my purse, not the velvet box yet. Jacques had given me that separately, but I had a key. I was not small. I walked into Le Chateau. The hostess was a young woman with dark hair and a warm smile. She said, "Good evening, welcome to Le Chateau." I said, "I'm here for the Morgan party." She looked at her book. "Ah yes, Miss Chloe Morgan. Right this way." She led me to a table near the window, a nice table. Candlelight, white tablecloth, fresh flowers in a small vase. I sat down. Chloe wasn't there yet, so I sat, and I waited. I ordered a glass of water. I sipped it slowly. I watched the other diners, a couple on a date, a family celebrating a graduation, an old man eating alone, reading a book. I wondered what their stories were. I wondered if any of them felt as out of place as I did. She arrived 20 minutes late. That was classic Chloe. She walked in like she owned the place. Blonde hair curled perfectly. A red dress that probably cost more than my first car. Heels that clicked like tiny hammers on the floor. Behind her came 3 of her friends from Chicago, women with sharp eyebrows and sharper smiles. They all looked like they had never washed a dish in their lives. They all looked like they had never worried about rent. They all looked like they belonged in a magazine. Chloe saw me and squealed, "Riley, oh my God, you look so comfortable." That word, comfortable, it's what people say when they mean not fashionable. It's what people say when they want to be polite, but they're really saying, "You don't belong here." I heard it in her voice. A tiny drop of poison wrapped in honey, but I smiled, I stood up, I hugged her. She smelled like expensive perfume, something floral and heavy. I smelled like the hand soap from my restaurant kitchen. I had washed my hands 3 times, but I swear the garlic lingers. I could smell it on my own skin. A faint reminder of who I really was. She introduced me to her friends. This is my big sister, Riley. She lives here in Columbus. She works in food service. Works in food service, not runs a restaurant, not owns a business, not is an entrepreneur, works in food service, like I was still wiping tables at Peggy's place, like I was still wearing a stained apron and carrying a tray of coffee. One of her friends, a woman named Tanya, said, "Oh, cool, so you know the good local spots." Tanya had bleached blonde hair and fake eyelashes so long they looked like they could fly away. She was wearing a white blazer that probably cost more than my rent. Before I could answer, Chloe laughed. "Riley knows the diners, you know, where the truckers eat, the greasy spoons, not that there's anything wrong with that." She patted my arm. "She's very practical." Everyone laughed, I laughed too, but my chest felt tight. My face felt hot. I sat back down. I put my hands in my lap so no one could see them shaking. We sat down. The waiter came. He was a thin man with a French accent and a perfect bow tie. Champagne was ordered. A bottle of something that cost more than my first month's rent. Menus were opened. Chloe looked at the prices and didn't flinch. She ordered oysters. She ordered escargot. She ordered a lobster bisque. Her friends did the same. I looked at the prices and calculated how many orders of mac and cheese I would have to sell to cover my share. The knot in my stomach tightened into a fist. Chloe talked and talked about her promotion at the PR firm, about Derek, the boyfriend, who was supposed to come but had to work late, about a trip to Italy she was planning for the fall, about a yoga retreat in Costa Rica. Her friends nodded and added their own stories. Tanya was getting a boob job. Another friend, a woman named Jessica, was engaged to a man who owned 3 car dealerships. The third friend, a quiet woman named Priya, just listened and smiled. I said almost nothing. I was the ghost again, sitting at the table but not really there. Watching. Waiting. Then Chloe did something that made the whole table go quiet. She looked at me, right at me, across the candlelight. Her eyes were not mean. That was the strange part. They were almost kind, like she truly believed she was helping me. She said, "Riley, I have to be honest, I love you. You know I love you, but you can't afford this dinner." The table went silent. Her friends stopped chewing. The waiter froze mid-pour. A fork clattered onto a plate somewhere in the background. I felt my face get hot. My ears were ringing. "What do you mean?" I asked. My voice sounded small, far away, like it belonged to someone else. Chloe sighed, like she was explaining something to a child, like she was the parent and I was the toddler who didn't understand money. "Riley, the appetizers here are $60. The steaks are over $100. I know how much you make. You told me last year you were still at that diner. I know your tips are probably $20, $30 a shift. I don't want you to embarrass yourself when the bill comes. I don't want you to have to put it on a credit card and pay interest for months. I'll cover you. Just don't order anything too crazy, okay? Maybe stick to a salad. Or a soup." She said it sweetly. That was the worst part. She said it like she was protecting me, like she was being generous, like she was the hero of this story and I was the charity case. But the message was clear. You are less than us. You do not belong here. You are a burden. Her friends nodded. Tanya even patted my hand. "It's okay, honey. We've all been there. When I was in college, I ate ramen for a whole year. No shame in it." No shame, but there was shame. I could feel it crawling up my throat like a living thing. I wanted to cry. I wanted to scream. I wanted to stand up and flip the table over and shout the truth. I wanted to tell them that I had $300 in cash in my purse, plus 2 credit cards with high limits. I wanted to tell them that my restaurant grossed over $1 million last year. I wanted to tell them that I had just signed a lease for a second location. I wanted to tell them that the chef of this very restaurant, Jacques, had asked me for my cornbread recipe and had offered me a partnership. I wanted to tell them that I was not the poor sister, I was not the charity case. I was a business owner, I was a survivor, I was someone to be proud of. But I didn't, because something else was happening inside me, something cold and calm. A voice that said, "Not yet, wait, let them show you who they are, let them dig their own hole." So I smiled. I said, "Thanks, Chloe, that's really sweet of you, I appreciate it." And I ordered a salad, the cheapest thing on the menu. $24 for lettuce and 3 cherry tomatoes and a drizzle of vinaigrette. I ate it slowly. I chewed each leaf like it was a punishment. I listened to Chloe and her friends talk about their vacations to Cabo, their Peloton instructors, their problems with their nannies. Nannies, these people had nannies. I had a cot in a kitchen 2 years ago. The dinner went on, course after course. Chloe ordered a second bottle of champagne, then a third. She laughed loudly. She took photos of every plate with her phone. She made everyone lean in for a group photo. I leaned in too. She posted the photo on Instagram with the caption, "Birthday dinner at Le Chateau with my favorite people. Number blessed, number birthday girl, number champagne life." I was not in any of the photos. She had cropped me out. I checked later. My shoulder was visible on the edge of one frame. That was it. At one point, Tanya leaned over and whispered to Chloe, but loud enough for me to hear, "Your sister is so quiet. Is she always like this?" Chloe whispered back, not even trying to hide it. "She's always been the shy one. It's fine, she's just happy to be included. She doesn't get out much." Happy to be included. I felt those words like a pin through my heart, like a needle sewing my mouth shut. Happy to be included. As if my presence was a gift they were giving me, as if I had no right to be there on my own merit, but I kept my face neutral. I kept my hands in my lap. I kept my breathing steady. I watched. I waited. The cold voice inside me grew stronger. Then came the moment. The moment I will remember for the rest of my life. It was near the end of the meal. The waiter had cleared the plates. Dessert menus were handed out. Chloe was debating between creme brulee and chocolate mousse. Her friends were giggling about something on Tanya's phone. I was staring at the wall behind Chloe, where there was a small plaque I had never noticed before. It said Le Chateau Est, 1987. Below it, a small engraving where every meal is a memory. And then the manager came to the table. He was a tall man in a black suit, silver hair, very professional, polished shoes. A name tag that said Henry, General Manager. He walked directly to our table with purpose. His face was serious but not angry. Chloe looked up, expecting more champagne or a complimentary dessert because it was her birthday. She opened her mouth to say something. Probably, "Oh, is this for me?" But the manager did not look at Chloe. He looked at me, and he smiled, a real smile. The kind of smile you give someone you respect. The kind of smile you give someone who matters. He said, "Miss Morgan, good evening. I didn't realize you were dining with us tonight." The table went silent again. Chloe's mouth stayed open. Her friends stared. Tanya dropped her fork. It clattered against the plate and no one picked it up. I looked up at Henry. I knew him. We had met at a restaurant association meeting 6 months ago. He had told me then that Morgan's Table was his favorite takeout. He said his wife dreamed about my mac and cheese. He had asked for my card. I had given it to him. We had talked for 20 minutes about staffing issues and supply chain problems. He was a good man, a serious man. He did not make jokes. "Hi, Henry," I said. My voice was calm, steady. "Just having a quiet dinner with my sister and her friends." Henry nodded. Then he did something strange. He reached into his jacket pocket and pulled out a small velvet box. Dark blue, the size of a ring box but flatter. He placed it on the table in front of me, right next to my water glass. Chloe gasped. "Oh my God, Riley, is someone proposing? Did you get engaged and not tell me?" I almost laughed. But then Henry spoke again. "Miss Morgan, the owner wanted me to give you this, as a thank you for your partnership. We are finalizing the paperwork for the merger next week, and he thought you might like to have the key early. He said to tell you that he is honored to be in business with you." The key. The key to what? I opened the velvet box. My fingers were steady. Inside was a small brass key, old-fashioned, heavy. On a tiny gold tag attached to it were the words, "Le Chateau Owner's Entrance." Chloe's face went white, like someone had drained all the blood from her cheeks. Her friends looked confused. Tanya whispered, "What's happening? What key? Who is this guy?" Henry looked at Chloe, then at me, then back at Chloe. And he said, "Did your sister not tell you? She's our new co-owner. Miss Morgan purchased 49% of Le Chateau last month. The papers are signed. The announcement goes out Monday. She's been very humble about it. We are thrilled to have her." The table was so quiet I could hear the ice melting in my water glass. I could hear the candle flickering. I could hear my own heartbeat. Chloe blinked. Her mouth opened and closed like a fish. "What?" she finally said. Her voice was barely a whisper. I took a slow breath. I picked up the key. I turned it over in my fingers. It was real. It was heavy. It was cold against my skin. It was mine. "Chloe," I said, my voice steady for the first time all night. "I didn't tell you because you never asked. You never asked about my job. You never asked about my life. You assumed I was still the same Riley who cleaned hotel rooms and served eggs at Peggy's place. But I'm not." Chloe's lower lip trembled. Her eyes were filling with tears. "But how? You can't afford? I mean, you work in food service. You told me you were still at the diner. You never said anything about a restaurant. You never said anything about owning anything." I set the key down on the table. I looked at my sister. I loved her. I still love her. But love does not mean letting someone make you small. Love does not mean accepting pity that is really just disguised contempt. Love does not mean staying quiet when you should speak. "I own food service, Chloe," I said. "I own Morgan's Table. It's a restaurant on the east side. Maybe you've heard of it. We were voted best comfort food in Columbus 2 years in a row. We have a wait list of 300 people every weekend. We do over $1 million in sales a year. And last year, I made enough money to buy a piece of this restaurant. Because the owner, Jacques, believed in me. Because I believed in myself." Chloe's eyes filled with tears. They spilled over and ran down her cheeks. Her mascara started to smudge. Her friends looked like they wanted to disappear into the floor. Tanya was staring at me with wide eyes. Jessica was chewing her lip. Priya had a small smile on her face, like she had known all along. Tanya whispered, loud enough for everyone to hear, "Oh my God, Chloe, you told her she couldn't afford the dinner. You told her to order a salad." Chloe shook her head. She was crying now, silent tears. I didn't know, Riley. You never told me. You never said anything. How was I supposed to know?" "You never asked," I said again. My voice was not angry. It was tired. It was the voice of someone who had been invisible for too long. "And when I tried to tell you, you talked over me. You assumed, you pitied me, and I let you, because I didn't want to make you feel bad. Because I didn't want to seem like I was bragging. Because I was ashamed of being successful while you were still, I don't know. But Chloe, I'm done with that. I'm done being invisible. I'm done being the sister you feel sorry for." Henry cleared his throat. "Miss Morgan, would you like me to bring the dessert menu, or perhaps some champagne on the house? The owner would be very upset if he knew you were paying for anything tonight." I looked at Chloe. She was crying openly now. Her perfect makeup was ruined. Her expensive red dress was spotted with tears. She looked like the little girl I used to protect from bullies on the playground. She looked like the sister I still loved, even when she hurt me. "No thank you, Henry," I said. "I think we're done here." I stood up. I put the velvet box in my purse. I pulled out $300 in cash and placed it on the table. "For my share of the meal," I said. "And Chloe, don't worry, I can afford it. I can afford the whole restaurant if I wanted to." Then I walked out of Le Chateau. I walked past the hostess. I walked past the old man reading his book. I walked out into the warm night air. The streetlights were still glowing. The music from the bar was still playing. The homeless man was still on the corner. I gave him another $10. He said, "You again, God bless you twice." I walked 2 blocks back to Morgan's Table. The lights were off. The chairs were up on the tables. The kitchen was silent. Mom's photo smiled from the wall. I stood in the middle of my restaurant, the place I built with my own hands, and I cried. Not sad tears, not happy tears, tears of release. Tears of a ghost becoming flesh. Tears of a woman who had spent 6 years being overlooked and underestimated, finally standing in the light. I cried for Mom. I cried for the girl who slept on a cot in a kitchen. I cried for every night I was too tired to eat. I cried for every customer who said my food reminded them of home. I cried for Chloe, who loved me but didn't know how to see me. I cried for myself because I had finally learned to see myself. I sat down in the booth in the corner, the one that reminded me of Peggy's place. I put my head in my hands. I stayed there for a long time. My phone buzzed an hour later. A text from Chloe. "Riley, I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. I'm sorry for every time I made you feel small. I'm sorry for assuming. I'm sorry for not asking. I'm sorry for being so blind. You're my sister and I love you and I didn't see you. I didn't see any of it. Can we please talk? Please, I'll come to you, I'll go anywhere, just please don't shut me out. I didn't answer right away. I sat in my office, a small room in the back of the restaurant, and I looked at the key. The key to Le Chateau, the key to a new chapter, and I thought about my mom, how she worked double shifts, how she never complained, how she always said, "Girls, the only person who can make you feel small is yourself." Mom was right, but she was also wrong, because other people can try, other people can assume, other people can pity. And if you let them, they will keep you in a box labeled less than. But the key is you don't have to let them. You can open the box yourself. You can step out. You can say, "I am not what you think I am." I finally texted Chloe back. 3 words, "Tomorrow, noon, Morgan's table." She showed up at 11:45. I saw her through the window. She was wearing jeans and a plain sweater, no makeup, no heels. Her hair was pulled back in a messy ponytail. She looked tired. She looked like she hadn't slept. She looked like the Chloe I grew up with, the one who used to hold my hand when we walked to school, the one who cried when I got my first job because she said I was growing up too fast, the one who used to crawl into my bed after a nightmare and whisper, "Riley, don't let the monsters get me." I opened the door. She walked in. She looked around at the restaurant, the warm lights, the chalkboard menu, the photo of Mom, the booth in the corner. She saw the plaque on the wall that said Morgan's Table Est 2021. She saw the framed review from the food blogger. She saw the shelf of awards. She started crying immediately. "Riley, I am so ashamed," she said. Her voice was cracked. "Raw, I have been so stupid, so blind. I thought you were still struggling. I thought I was helping. I thought I was being the successful one, the one who made it out. But I was just showing off. I was making myself feel better by making you feel smaller. I didn't even know I was doing it. That's the worst part. It was automatic." I didn't say anything. I just walked to the kitchen and came back with 2 plates. Mom's peach cobbler, warm, sweet, perfect. I had made it fresh that morning. I set the plates on the table. I sat down across from her. "Eat," I said. She ate. She cried. She ate some more. She made little noises of pleasure between the sobs. "This tastes like Mom's," she said. "How did you do that?" "I practiced," I said. 17 times. We sat there for a while, just eating, just being sisters. The clock on the wall ticked. The refrigerator hummed. The world outside kept moving. And then she talked. Really talked. Not the Instagram version, not the PR version. The real version. She told me about her job, which she hated. She said her boss was cruel and her coworkers were fake and every day felt like a performance. She told me about Derek, the boyfriend who was cheating on her. She had known for months. She found texts on his phone. He didn't know she knew. She stayed because she was afraid of being alone. She told me about her apartment, which was beautiful and empty. Floor-to-ceiling windows, but no one to look out them with. A gym on the roof, but no one to work out beside. She told me about how she had been running from something her whole life, the fear of being poor, the fear of being forgotten, the fear of being like Mom, who worked herself into an early grave and left behind nothing but a small house and a lifetime of exhaustion. I thought if I had enough money and enough friends and enough champagne and enough Instagram likes, I wouldn't be scared anymore, she whispered, staring at her empty plate. But I'm still scared. I'm so scared, Riley. I'm scared every single day. I'm scared that I'm not enough. I'm scared that everyone will find out I'm a fraud. I'm scared that I'll end up alone like Mom, not alone in the way she was alone, but alone in the way that no one really knows me. I reached across the table and took her hand. Her fingers were cold. Mine were warm from the kitchen. "Me too," I said. "I'm scared every day, scared of losing the restaurant, scared of failing, scared of being alone, scared of ending up like Mom in the sense that I worked too hard and forgot to live. But I don't hide anymore. I don't pretend. I just keep cooking. I keep showing up. And I let the people who matter see the real me, the messy me, the tired me, the me who still sleeps in a cot sometimes because I'm too lazy to go home." Chloe squeezed my hand. "You matter," she said. "You always mattered. I just forgot. I got so caught up in my own world that I forgot you were building yours. I forgot that you were always the strong one, even when we were kids. You were the one who held our family together after Dad left. You were the one who made sure I had lunch money. You were the one who stayed with Mom when she was sick. And I flew away. I left you. I'm so sorry, Riley, I left you. We sat there for a long time. The restaurant was closed. The staff was off. It was just us and the ghost of Mom and the smell of cinnamon and peaches. I thought about forgiveness. I thought about whether Chloe deserved it. I thought about whether anyone deserves forgiveness or whether it's something you give because you need to move on. I forgave her, not because she deserved it, but because I deserved peace. And holding onto anger is like eating poison and waiting for the other person to die. I had been angry for too long. At Chloe, at the world, at myself. It was time to let it go. I forgive you, I said, but things have to be different now. No more pretending, no more assuming. You want to be in my life, you ask questions. You listen to the answers. You see me, really see me, and I'll see you. The real you, not the Instagram you, Chloe nodded. Tears were still rolling down her cheeks. I want that more than anything. I stood up. I walked to the kitchen and came back with 2 cups of coffee. Mom's old mug and my old mug. I had kept them from the house. They were chipped and faded, but they were ours. We drank our coffee. We talked about Mom. We talked about the good memories. The time Mom tried to bake a cake and set off the smoke alarm. The time Mom took us to the lake and we caught our first fish. The time Mom stayed up all night sewing our Halloween costumes. We laughed. We cried. We remembered. And then Chloe looked at me with a strange expression. Can I ask you something? You just did, I said, smiling. No, really. How did you do it? How did you go from cleaning hotel rooms to owning 2 restaurants? How did you not give up? I thought about her question for a long time. I thought about the cot in the kitchen. The stolen delivery money, the food poisoning, the crying in the walk-in cooler, the loneliness, the fear, the doubt. I didn't give up because I had no choice, I said finally. I didn't have a safety net. I didn't have a boyfriend with a trust fund. I didn't have a promotion waiting. I had me. And I had Mom's voice in my head telling me that I was stronger than I thought. And I had a recipe. Just one recipe that I knew was good. And I made it over and over until people started to notice. And then I made another recipe, and another, and I didn't stop. Even when I wanted to, even when I was so tired I couldn't see straight, I didn't stop. Chloe was quiet for a moment. Then she said, I'm proud of you. I should have said it a long time ago, but I'm proud of you, Riley. Those words hit me harder than the key, harder than the velvet box, harder than the cash on the table. Because those were the words I had been waiting to hear my whole life. Not you look comfortable, not you're the shy one, not I'll cover you, but I'm proud of you. I started crying again. So did she. We held hands across the table, 2 sisters who had been lost and were now finding their way back. The lesson I learned is simple. It's not about money. It's not about restaurants or keys or velvet boxes. It's about worth. Your worth is not determined by your bank account or your job title or the people you impress. Your worth is determined by you, by the work you put in, by the love you give, by the way you treat the person in the mirror. My sister told me I couldn't afford her birthday dinner, but the truth is, I could afford the whole restaurant. And now I own a piece of it, not to prove anything to her, but to prove everything to myself. If you are reading this and you feel invisible, if you feel like the world has put you in a box labeled less than, remember my story. Remember the ghost who became real. Remember the sister who was counted out but never counted herself out. Keep working, keep believing, keep showing up, even when no one is watching, especially when no one is watching. And one day, when they least expect it, you will stand up from the table, put the key on the table, and walk out into the light. You will walk past the people who underestimated you. You will walk past the whispers and the pity and the assumptions. And you will walk into a place that you built with your own 2 hands. You are not a ghost. You are not forgotten. You are not the person they think you are. You are the owner of your own life. You are the author of your own story. You are the chef of your own kitchen, even if no one knows it yet. Especially if no one knows it yet.